Welcome to Global Tax Talks, Tax in 60 Seconds. I'm Will Morris, and here are some things to watch out for in the coming week. As we wait for the first of the reports required by President Trump's January 20th executive order on the OECD global tax deal, much discussion continues about what will happen, especially to Pillar Two. So, first, as they say in Star Wars, in a galaxy far, far away, the G20 and OECD talked at their late February meetings about how well things were going for both pillars, especially Pillar Two, although there was a passing reference to respecting tax sovereignty. It's worth noting, however, that the US Treasury Secretary did not attend, and further worth noting that the US takes over the G20 presidency at the end of this year, which may herald a change in direction. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, things are looking a little different. At a recent conference in Europe, Benjamin Angel, the European Commission's top direct tax official, talked about GILTI in Pillar Two in a way that made it sound like there was at least some possibility of GILTI becoming a qualified regime in some way, although how wasn't clear. What was also interesting at the same conference was the increasingly loud voices from European business to pause Pillar Two or sort things out through some innovative use of safe harbours. And this picks up on a recent statement from a regional leader in Germany about the need for a pause and a call from Germany's most important trade association, the BDI, to either suspend Pillar Two or dramatically increase the safe harbours. Now, this is part dislike of Pillar Two itself and part concern about European competitiveness. But it is perhaps telling that these issues are beginning to be raised in public now. Anyway, these developments do also seem to point us towards a number of possible solutions. However, the situation is complex because, as I've said before, tax does not exist in isolation right now, and tariffs complicate this. The March 12 US expansion and broadening of tariffs on steel and aluminium, or aluminum, to 25% on all countries resulted in targeted European tariffs at 50% starting April 1 on American whiskey, read bourbon, and American motorcycles, among other goods, with more to come in mid-April. And should broader-based tariffs come in on EU goods, then retaliation will likely spread, as we've also seen with tariffs aimed at Canada and China recently. As the stakes rise on trade, any separate, nuanced negotiation on tax becomes harder. Anyway, let's see what comes out on or around March the 20th in that report on the first executive order, as that will almost certainly significantly affect future direction. In other news, the EU agreed its latest reporting directive, DAC 9, on exchanging information on Pillar Two. Interesting to note, though, the directive only got through once the references to allowing the Commission, rather than the Member States, to make changes to reporting requirements were removed. This again might be a blow to those who hope to see the EU making wholesale changes to the Minimum Tax Directive. Unanimity on tax can be very hard to come by. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and come back next week so that you stay global tax ready.